Unlike many, Mizuno's tragedy does not consist of the loss of something, but of something much worse, to never have had anything. Mizuno does not have any memory of a past or an origin that leads him to be what he is now, much less any clarity of what the future can provide to him. This has made him a being of melancholy and almost constant introversion, not to mention being seemingly devoid of emotions. This, nevertheless, is deceptive, since in fact he is a being of innocence and pure nobility, arranged to open himself to other people who can fill the emptiness of his solitary existence. When some of these people are in danger, he becomes a creature of fury and uncontrollable self-sacrifice. He is in a constant search of something that could give him a purpose to his existence and equip him with a source of hope for his future.
What is up, YouTube? I am not dead. I am very much alive. I have escaped the Mississippi catacombs with all of the videos, and I even found a girlfriend in the catacombs.
Hi.
Say hello to Space Mermaid.
Hi.
Yes, I found her roaming around in the catacombs trying to be a YouTuber or whatever.
A YouTuber.
I don't know. I have this weird lore about the Mississippi catacombs. It was stupid. It was gonna be like after the Civil War when the slaves were free. General Colonel Sanders made a pact with the devil. it was. It was.
I love how it's KFC related.
Well, I don't know.
My favorite fast food.
I don't know any other like general from back in that day. I don't know my history that well. But no, I decided to scrap it. I don't know. Maybe later I'll make more reference towards it. But yeah, the world's on fire, so I figured people need my series back. That's what needs to happen. But yeah, so viewers, I've been busy doing things that you will know about later. But for now, just know that I'm back, and I do intend on finishing up the series. Space Mermaid here is going to be helping me out, and she's going to be more pushy towards me to make sure that I release these on a weekly basis and not every 2 years or so.
Nagging girlfriend.
Well, I wouldn't say nagging, it's more supporting kind of thing.
Yeah,
but,
true.
But no, everything's cool. However, I'm going to be having her today as a host, getting her feedback and whatever. So hopefully you guys will like it. If not, I can try something different later on. And today we're talking about Mizuno. All right. Yes, Mizuno, the one and only, possibly the second most popular character in Law of Talos for reasons that I will show you later. All right. So Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so this is Mizuno. Let me show you a picture. This is a more chibi look of him, but this is pretty much a good summary of what he is. He's a fish boy, almost mermaid-like, and can water vent. So I figured this is perfect for you.
It is perfect, because it's mermaid related. He
Yes.
looks really creepy, by the way.
Well, in this image, he doesn't have, it's a little bit... I can see why you might think it's a little creepy, but this is not probably the best image for it. He's actually quite friendly. In fact, he's probably one of the most friendly characters in the Law of Talos. He's the guy that, if he were in the Hunger Games, he's the one that's trying to team up with everybody and try to survive, even though he doesn't want to admit that at some point he's going to have to fight everybody, kind of thing. He's that kind of individual. He was created by the username Cirith, spelled Ciriht. I can only assume that it's pronounced Cirith. Cirith has done all kinds of things. Her, I'm assuming it's a she, mainly because of all my experiences looking at people's arts. I can kind of tell the gender,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. Based on the style.
Yeah, and she hasn't been very active in her DeviantArt, but there's a lot of content. I'm gonna be leaving it up. I'm gonna put it in the comment description so that you guys can later on go and explore her DeviantArt and maybe find out where she's at. But anyways, so the basic summary of Mizuno is have you ever seen any of like the Black Lagoon monster movies? You know,
The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
It has a lot of.
I kind of feel bad admitting that I saw that movie. It was so bad. It was so bad. It's only because I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro that I saw it.
Well, it has
It was
a
so
lot
bad,
of
though.
themes sort of along those lines because Mizuno was made in some kind of laboratory. He doesn't really know who he is or what happened. In fact, if I remember correctly, and I'll correct this later if I'm wrong, but I think he joined the competition of Law of Talos to try and figure out who he is, kind of thing, because he's alone, and as his background sheet suggests, he's very lonely and potentially psychologically scarred in some kind of way because he has a voice in his head. The stories never really tell us if it's his subconscious or if it's like an actual person's voice, like some kind of secondary voice in there, because there's, like I said, there's some mystery in how he was created. It's suggested that he was human at one point, but that he was fused with something else. So it kind of gives that mystery that maybe that other voice in his head is that something else. But personally, I think it's all in his head, and it's actually just his subconscious. And I'll get to that later with more details as to why. So, like I said, Mizuno can control water. He's pretty agile and strong compared to most people. But and thankfully, he doesn't need to, only breathe water. He can breathe air and water just fine. So he's
Nice.
definitely amphibian more than fish-like. He's some kind of amphibian. I should just call him a mermaid boy or whatever. But yes, and he's extremely nice. Unfortunately for him, the first time we meet him, and part of the reason why he's so popular, is because he appeared in the very first animation for The Law of Talos made by Unknown Person. Unknown Person is the person that made the original animations. And he had to fight Carl. Now, right off the bat, it's very fitting and poetic because Mizuno is a water elemental. Carl is a rock elemental. And both earth and water are what makes steampunk technology. So I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it's definitely quite fitting. On top of that, though, I can see why they made Mizuno fight the rock guy first. Mizuno later on is revealed to be extremely OP. Have you ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original series?
Yes, I wasn't a fan. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know that's gonna piss some people off, but.
Well, alright. So, the reason why I was bringing that up is because it's hinted that he can bloodbend. He can control
nice.
the water inside your body. So, any human that he goes up against, he could technically win automatically. The only thing that stops him from doing so is that A, he's a genuinely good person, and B, they usually try to put him up against people where he won't be able to do that so easily. However, and back to the whole idea of maybe the voice in his head being, actually, I'll save that for the end. So, Mizuno canonically loses his fight with Carl, both in the animation and in the comics. Remember, the comics can be a little different because when the competitor is trying to win, in their version, they usually are the winners.
Mm-hmm.
However, in this version, both in the animation and in the comics, scratch that. I am dead wrong. He actually does win the fight against Carl in the comics. He actually tries to choke Carl with by using like a water bubble over his head, but he didn't know what Carl was. Carl doesn't need to breathe, so he's just, keeps attacking him or whatever. But later on, it was revealed that Carl swallowed some of that water, and Mizuno uses that to bend it inside his body and break him into pieces, making him the winner in the comics. However, again, canonically, he lost. But this was not the last time that we saw Mizuno. In fact, Mizuno is the only character that I can tell that has made multiple cameos throughout other characters' stories, and this could have been due to people dropping out of the race early on, but he actually got to go to round 2. He got to fight another contestant. And when you look at the chart of all the players that were fighting one another, all of a sudden, Mizuno appears on the other side of the map fighting somebody else. So he got lucky and ended up getting a lot of exposure. So like I said, whenever I'm reviewing something, either Mizuno is always there. He's constantly in the background, one way or another, and he usually makes appearances at the ending of the story, both in the comics and in the animation. And in the comics, he was actually the one that stopped Carl from going on a rampage. So I've mentioned this in the previous video, but in the comics, when the winner of the Law of Talos ends up wishing for all the harm that's been done to be undone, and coincidentally, it also made Carl into a human. But before Carl started stabbing people, Mizuno kind of threatened him. It's like, I can bend blood or whatever, so you better watch out, kind of thing. And he just leaves. So he's definitely one of the most overpowered characters, and I can definitely see him being the winner if they hadn't if the guy had continued on making the comics. But yeah, what's your opinion on that so far?
That sounds like an awesome power.
It is an awesome power, and like I said, but here's okay. So
I just imagine him like holding out his hand and just like doing his little power thing, kind of like 11 style, and the person just like getting all like red and bubbly looking and like
the competitors are very lucky that he's a genuinely nice
like
person.
their blood's boiling or something.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the whole second voice thing. Every time Mizuno is monologuing and thinking, the voice is responding to it. And the voice is a bit meaner than Mizuno. It's more pessimistic, more angry, and tries to suggest other more malicious things. What's interesting though is that throughout the comics, Mizuno ends up actually doing all the things that the voice kept telling him to do. Because, okay, so for example, at the beginning, Mizuno is trying to be all peaceful like, but the voice keeps telling him, no, you gotta be more aggressive, you gotta be less trustworthy of people. After his fight with Carl, because Carl actually tries to trick Mizuno by being his friend, and after that, Mizuno kind of lost his trust towards everybody around him because of the competition. He's like, I gotta be at the defensive kind of thing. And so he ended up becoming he lost his trust, just like the voice told him to be more untrustworthy. And you see more little details here and there about it. He becomes more violent when fighting, as the fight continues. But at the end, when he officially loses in the second round in the comics, instead of leaving the city, the voice tells him, wait, stay. And Mizuno's like, well, I thought you didn't want me to be here. The voice, for a recap, the voice didn't want Mizuno to join the competition because it's afraid that Mizuno will die in it. And if he dies, the voice dies as well.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so there's some preservation of life there going on, kind of thing. But the voice tells him, now that we're out of the competition, we don't have to follow the rules. And that magic wishing machine is still out here somewhere. And Mizuno, instead of leaving, he stays. He doesn't outright agree, but he stays. And that explains why there's so many cameos of him in the city. so it's this sort of it's this really oddly mysterious character. Now, in his case, it doesn't seem to be so much magic. There does seem to be some kind of science behind it, some kind of like Frankenstein science from that period. That's the vibe that I get, and I'll show you more pictures later on, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, that is the story of Mizuno. We don't really know what happens to him afterwards. It's all we know is that he just sticks around throughout the Law of Talos. He's just this constant element in there, and Carl's complete opposite.
Sounds to me like he has some kind of like schizophrenic dark subconscious.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that even Carl himself has a version of that. So Carl, the living statue, has this other mini statue of a raven that does whatever Carl wants to do and whatnot. What's odd is the raven is never really presented as an individual character. It's kind of hinted that it has this weird symbiotic relationship with Carl, and that it's maybe an extension of himself. So like I said, we've got these similarities of the characters, and at the same time, these polar opposites. Almost like it was all completely on purpose, water versus earth, but at the same time, both make up what makes up steampunk technology to make this symphony of machines. But yeah, tell us what you guys think in the comment section, guys. This has been the Mizuno episode. If there's anything I missed out, I'll make sure to add it in the description or edit the videos to include more things. I'm not sure who the next contestant's going to be in the next episode. I might make a quick one on some of the more elusive competitors and make like a mini montage of them. Alrighty then. See you guys later.
Bye.
Hold up there, viewer. We're not down yet. No, we are not. There is mystery afoot. For you see, while I was editing this video, I completely forgot about adding a very mysterious aspect of the story. You see, in the first official chapter 1 of Mizuno's comic, right before he meets Carl, in literally the first few, I guess you could call pages, Mizuno meets this strange fairy-like girl. Fairy, from what I can tell, she seems to be using some kind of mechanical thingy. It's not really a jetpack, but it has wings and it lets her fly around, kind of like a hummingbird sort of thing, or a butterfly. But here's the thing. Due to the fact that Mizuno doesn't officially win his first round, we don't really see an expansion as to what this is. Officially, what happens is this girl comes down, she starts speaking gibberish in a language that we don't understand, that the reader doesn't understand, and I guess Mizuno as well. And it just gives Mizuno a letter along with the equipment, the starting gear that all the contestants have to start with. The thing is, this is not too uncommon. Carl's story did the same thing, where the writers themselves will expand on the lore of the town of the city of Tally, where they'll add things here and there as to how things are run. And I suppose if they win their match, then that part of the world is canon. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Mizuno lost so early, this means that these butterfly girls, or butterfly girl, are not canon. As far as we're concerned, I'd have to do more research in the future. But I am extremely curious as to what the author was going with this, because there's some mystery with it. See, the character is very well detailed, almost as if we were supposed to see her later on throughout the story. At first, I thought it was just a neat little thing that they added to just give lore to the world. But no, there's something very specific. In fact, if you pay attention, you'll realize that we almost never see her eyes. there's only one panel, one little tiny panel. As soon as we meet her for the first time, where we can see her eyes. And if you zoom in on her, you'll notice that the eyes have been painted red, while the rest of the comic remains black and white. On top of that, if you zoom even deeper, you'll notice that her pupils are that of a snake. They're snake eyes instead of normal, roundish pupils. So that seems very specific. I think the author was going to go somewhere with this, and I really wish we could have learned more. That's super mysterious. I have no idea what this could mean. Maybe she was going to become a major villain later on in the story. If anybody can figure this out, I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. The mystery butterfly girl. Strange. Oh well. Alrighty then. See you guys next time.
To and fro go the way. My dreams are waiting in the wings. When we are ready, we will return. The stream of time has carried me away, but